The Philippine Air Force has not kept up to its regional neighbors. This has brought many Filipinos to downplay the capabilities of the Philippine Air Force. They believe that it is weak, and in the face of external threats, the Philippines would falter down. However, is that really true? Are the Philippines Air Force some of the weakest in Southeast Asia? Well, to understand this, it is important to understand the face of the Philippine Air Force. The face of the country's aerial defense lies in none other than fighter jets. Fighter jets are the backbone of any air force, representing a nation's ability to defend its airspace and project power. For the Philippines, the country's fighter jets have changed over time. To understand how strong they are now, it is important for us to understand how strong they were a few decades ago and compare how good they are to today, as well as its future projections. Most of the Philippine Air Force fighter jets were initially from the United States. They flew the P-51 Mustang, which was a long-range single-seat fighter and fighter bomber introduced in 1942. After the P-51 Mustang, the Philippine Air Force flew the F-86 Sabre, aircrafts which were manufactured by North American Aviation. Then they were replaced by the Vought F-8 Crusader, which was acquired in 1977. The Philippine government acquired 35 of them, all second-hand. Unfortunately, due to a lack of spare parts and the rapid deterioration of the aircraft, the F-8s were grounded in 1988 and left on an open grass field at Basa Air Base. 3 years later, they were severely damaged by the eruption of Mount Pinatubo and were subsequently withdrawn from service. Since then, they have been offered for sale as scrap. In addition to the F-8 Crusader, the Philippine Air Force acquired the Northrop F-5, which replaced the F-86 Sabre. The F-5 played a crucial role in the Philippines until 2005. They safeguarded the Philippine airspace and have seen action against communist and Muslim rebels, as well as military mutineers. They were retired due to being too old and costly to maintain, considering they were acquired in 1965. The F-5 also paved the way for the Philippine Air Force to actually become one of the strongest in Southeast Asia during the early years. The F-5 were supersonic fighters, which meant that when the Philippines acquired them from the United States, they were the first to have supersonic fighters in the entire Southeast Asian region. But when the Philippine Air Force commissioned the F-5, it brought issues to the entire department. Many wondered what was going to replace these fighter jets. The Philippine economy was hammered in the early to late 1990s and early 2000s, and were further exacerbated by the 2008 global financial crisis. Acquiring an advanced fighter jet would prove to be difficult. One of the remaining fighter jets at that time was the North American Rockwell OV-10 Bronco. These were manufactured by Rockwell International and were special aircraft for counterinsurgency combat. They were acquired from the United States in 1991 when the U.S. government agreed to sell 24 OV-10A Broncos to the armed forces of the Philippines. A week after the initial turnover, Bronco pilots returned from a 4-month transition training at Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina, USA. The United States has also played a role in the Philippine Armed Forces. This is seen not just in the fighter jets, but in every aspect of the Philippine military, from its navy to military and air force. But as the 21st century shows, the foreign relations between the two have changed drastically. The Philippines had no longer seen the U.S. as a destination to acquire aircrafts. For one, they had become far too expensive for the Philippines to buy. Most U.S. equipment were priced extensively high. Then, as global economies rose, other nations began to manufacture their own military equipment. Some of those had offered cheaper, at times better military equipment for exports. One of these is South Korea, a major East Asian economy and one of the closest foreign friends of the Philippines. South Korea had been chosen by the Philippines for its next fighter jet. In June of 2012, the Department of National Defense of the Philippines announced that a variant of the T-50 Golden Eagle from South Korea was selected for the Philippine Air Force. This decision represented the first acquisition of brand new fast jets since the F-5s in the 1960s. The T-50 Golden Eagle is developed by Korea Aerospace Industries, along with U.S. company Lockheed Martin. The T-50 Golden Eagle is South Korea's first indigenous supersonic aircraft and one of the world's first supersonic trainers. It was derived from the F-16 Fighting Falcon and benefits from Kai's experience building KF-16s and serves as a precursor to South Korea's fifth-generation KF-X aircraft. The exact variant that the Philippines acquired was the FA-50PH, a lightweight fighter derivative. The decision to procure the TA-50 came in the wake of the Scarborough Shoal standoff, where the inadequacies of the Philippine military's equipment were starkly highlighted. At that time, the Philippines relied on two naval ships, the World War II-era BRP Raja Humaban PF-11 and the 55-year-old BRP Gregorio del Pilar PF-15, which were poorly armed. The Air Force's only combat aircraft, the S-211 basic jet trainer, could not match the speed and capabilities of potential adversaries. During the standoff, an unidentified aircraft intruded into Philippine airspace, traveling at high speeds and only activating its transponder near Chinese ships. The Air Force's inability to respond effectively to such threats underscored the need for more advanced military hardware. Recognizing these deficiencies, the Philippine government sought to enhance its air defense capabilities with aircraft that could achieve supersonic speeds, intercept intruders, and engage in air-to-air and air-to-ground combat. While the U.S. declined to provide F-16s to avoid angering China, it leveraged its influence to help the Philippines find alternative suppliers. Countries like Italy, South Korea, Russia, the Czech Republic, and the UK responded to the Philippines' call for a lead-in fighter trainer. These were easy to handle and highly maneuverable lead-in flight trainers that can reach Mach 1.5 and have the radar and avionics to use precision-guided JDAM bombs or Maverick missiles. The FA-50 fighter variant can carry 8,500 pounds of munitions on several hardpoints, including Sidewinder short-range air-to-air missiles, along with its integrated triple-barreled 20mm cannon. The FA-50PH had played a crucial role in the Philippine Air Force ever since its introduction. However, one of its critics was none other than former President Rodrigo Duterte. He previously dismissed the new fighters as useful only for ceremonial flybys. Rodrigo also argued that the Air Force's few FA-50s are inadequate for defending against Chinese fighter planes based across the South China Sea. There's only one purpose for buying it, he remarked in June 2016, to match the air power at least one-on-one versus China. But beyond Scarborough Shoal, there are 300 MiGs there. Whilst it might not be capable of fighting against China, the FA-50s have conducted several airstrikes against rebels in the Philippines. Beyond the FA-50PH, there is another recent acquisition, the Embraer EMB-314 from Brazil. In October of 2020, the Philippine Air Force had received 6 Super Tucano aircraft. The newly acquired aircraft will be deployed for various missions including close air support, light attack, surveillance, air-to-air interception, counterinsurgency, and advanced training. This acquisition is a key part of the armed forces of the Philippines' modernization efforts. These aircrafts are combat-proven in many conflict zones worldwide. The A-29 Super Tucano combines a classic design with 21st-century weapons. Finally, for the future of the Philippine Air Force, they are currently planning their multi-role fighter acquisition program. So far, the Philippine government had to choose from a long list of options. They had negotiated with both Sweden and the United States for this matter. One of the potential acquisitions was from the U.S. In 2021, the U.S. approved the sale of 10 F-16C Block 7072 and 2 F-16D Block 7072 aircraft in a $2.43 billion package. The only problem was that the Philippines did not have enough budget. They had only allocated $1.1 billion for this acquisition. In 2022, Sweden proposed the JAS 39 Gripen as an alternative. The latest Gripen EF variants feature advanced equipment stored within it. They can carry a variety of air-to-air and anti-ship missiles. Although more expensive than previous variants, the Gripen E is estimated to cost around $85 million each. The Gripen recently demonstrated superior performance against China's Su-27s in 2015 joint exercises with the Royal Thai Air Force. The Thai JAS 39CD Gripens outperformed the heavier Chinese fighters in beyond visual range engagement. The Gripen E model models that the Philippines is considering are more advanced than the older Thai Jazz 39s. So far, the Philippines have signed numerous deals with Sweden about this, but the acquisition is still far off. But anyway, do let us know what you think. Thanks for watching.